Hey you guys, this is Hee-Haw with Dark Moon Cards and Games. It's been a little while since I've had a chance to get back around to the trading card game online. I'm back today with a deck I've had in kind of in the back pocket here for a little while. It's a very fun deck. It's a challenging deck to play against, and probably as equally a challenging a deck to play, to pilot yourself. So I think it is definitely one that is prone to lots of errors on your end, but let's get into it. Let me open it up here so we can see more what we're talking about. This is a Togekiss deck. Pop Togekiss up there. Togekiss is such an interesting Pokemon. We'll get into all the parts of that here in a minute. Again, this is kind of created to be more of a lock deck. Not so much a stall deck. I don't think it really falls into that category. And the type of lock is of course going to come in the form of item locked, and that comes from Amistar. With its ability Fossil Bind, as long as you have fewer Pokemon in play than your opponent, they can't play item cards from their hand. So it's not super overpowered because it is conditional on you having fewer in play on your bench than your opponent, and it's something that your opponent can manage if they are paying attention. Well, what I like about this deck is, you can see real quick what I've chosen. There's a lot of stuff in here. We'll go over all of it. But this is a deck that you can customize to the control part of the deck. And I definitely think it's more of it's a lock deck, but it's really more of a control deck. The control portion of this deck is something you can customize 30 ways from Sunday. And we'll go through all the cards. Like I said, the item lock comes from Amistar. It really is good against everything. As you can see, it comes from an unidentified fossil. Only play one of those, play one Amistar, and one rare candy. So with those three pieces all being necessary for that to happen, and 6 prize cards that you lay down at the beginning of the game, it is possible that it will not happen. You may prize a piece of this or multiple pieces of it, and it may become just a non-factor in the game, and that's really okay, because the rest of the control portion of the deck can function without the item lock. Let's get back to the main Pokemon here, Togekiss VMAX. It's okay. Actually, let's look at his basic first. The basic Togekiss V is good. It's 200 HP, White Wind, does 90 damage against an evolution Pokemon for 1 energy, so that's not terrible. Weakness to lightning also is not terrible. Pikarom doesn't seem to be overwhelming anything at the moment. It is a good deck. It's always been a good deck. So I guess if you come up against Pikarom, you might have some issues, but I do have a way in here to deal with that as well. Resistance to fighting Pokemon, pretty much colossal at the moment. I guess with these single strike Pokemon, that's going to become more relevant. Back to the VMAX. Max Glide does 120 damage. Then you may search your deck for 2 cards and put them into your hand. So that's any 2 cards. That could be Pokemon, Trainer, Energy, item. Does not matter. That is amazing in any form that happens in the card game. It's come to us in lots of different ways over the years, but this is the most recent one. It's good HP, 310 HP. It's not the best one out there, but it's not terrible. You can boost that as well. And that's really it. I guess the other really thing to point out is he has free retreat cost. So you can bounce back and forth with this guy, and that really does happen in this deck the way that I play it. And that is because of his partner in crime here, Zarude V. Zarude V, 210 HP Pokemon. Really the only thing relevant here is Jungle Rising. 100 damage for 2 grass energies, and you can attach up to 2 basic energies from your hand to a bench Pokemon any way that you like. And if you attached an energy that way, it doesn't have to be 2 to a Pokemon. In this way, you may heal all damage from that Pokemon. So this is a way to just wipe off anything that somebody does to your Togekiss, and then send him back up on the next turn, and you get 100 damage along the way too, which again in this format is almost insignificant, but it's better than nothing, I guess. The other strength of Zarude V is that it only does cost 2 grass energies to pull this attack off, so it's something that you can hold and not bench so that somebody can take it out before you have a chance to use it. You can bench it, attach a grass energy, and as long as you have a grass on your field somewhere else, which you should, the way this deck plays, then you can just energy switch it off of a Togekiss, or even if you had it attached to Amistar for whatever reason, you can energy switch it over and power this guy up in one turn, and that's the way that I try to play Zarude in this. I don't bench him unless that move is kind of in the works. About the time that you actually make this move with Jungle Rising in the game, it's probably going to be at least mid-game, I guess so to speak, if not late game. So your opponent should have something set up at that point, and chances are they're going to be able to do 210 damage. So again, you don't want to bench this guy just for the sake of benching him and then have them knock him out before you can use him. But I guess that draws attention away from your Togekiss VMAX. It's not without an upside, but you also, with ADP out there, this is one of the guys that can be knocked out with Zacian V and take an extra prize card against that. So that's the downside of Zarude. And now on to the toolbox of trainers, and this is, if there ever was a toolbox, this is one of them. I'm going to start with the most important one, and it is kind of buried down here towards the bottom, and that is Green's Exploration. Now you can search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards. That's either item or supporter, reveal them and put them into your hand, shuffle your deck. You have to remember, in playing this deck, especially the way I have it built, that it does have the limitation that you cannot play this card if you have Pokemon with abilities in play. And that only is Amistar. So Greens helps you get to a fast Amistar, but if you do get there quickly, then Greens becomes a non-factor for the rest of the game. So try to use your Greens early and get out what you want, because once you get to Amistar, then this is a dead card. But it doesn't really ever seem to get in the way of the way I've been playing this deck, and it really does help you if you can get that second turn Amistar. I think you win most games. If not, it's at least going to be a very frustrating win for your opponent. That's the main one to point out. I guess we'll just go through the rest of them. You have 1 Crushing Hammer, 1 Energy Switch, 2 Evolution Incense, which again helps you get your VMAX and your Amistar, so that's why we actually went with 2 there. Pokegear lets you dig for a supporter, Quick Balls, basically just to get your, really increase the chances to get us a root out when you need it. 1 Rare Candy. You do have 3 Reset Stamp. It's a huge card in this deck. You may fall behind, that's fine if you do. That really can lock your opponent into that spot where you can control just about everything they do if you can keep shuffling them into a 3-card hand if they've already knocked out a VMAX, or even if it's just a 4-card hand if they took out somebody else. Very important part of that lock. 1 switch, really just there to either protect your Amistar. Also have an air balloon down here to do that as well. Togekiss has free retreat. He has a Zarude has a 1 energy retreat cost, so that's not that big a deal. Tag Call, just because you do have a couple of tag team supporters down here. The main reason that that's there is really for the Guzmahala. Guzmahala is not a card I've played a whole lot, but it's really good in this one. Lets you get a Stadium, a Special Energy, and a Tool card, so in effect it's almost like a Greens in this as well. But it just actually lets you get 1 more item than you can the other way. Lets you get that Special Energy card out too, which we will get down to those here in just a second. I have just the 1 Unidentified Fossil. See if we can scroll this down just a little bit. 2 Team Yellhorns. Really messed around with this. I had a few other things in here. I really like this because this can add that condition to where they have to flip a coin to do anything to you, and I've really been surprised at how many times that works. If you have 2 Togekiss set up, or if you just do it early before you evolve to your Togekiss VMAX, then of course your condition goes away, and then you put that condition on them. I think it's an underrated card. It's got 2 of those in there. I've got Power Plant in here, just 1 of those. That's just at this point basically to stop the Denny. I don't think it really affects anything else relevant in the game at the moment. 2 Bosses Orders, just sometimes grabbing something up and then just slowly killing it, which this deck will do, is good. Cynthia Caitlin to get a supporter back. 1 Erica's Hospitality there, the 4 greens, Goose Mahala. 1 Lieutenant Surge Strategy, just for that instance where you would get into somebody got a quick start and got ahead of you. You can restamp and then play the Lieutenant Surge Strategy and start playing multiple supporters, which gets really good. And that's when the old Horns companion kind of comes into play, when you can Lieutenant Surge, play Team Yell Grunt, make them remove an energy from the field, and then still play another supporter. That's amazingly strong in this deck. 1 Mallow and Lana in here to heal with, which you can use, and you can also get it back with Cynthia Caitlin. 2 researches. Got into the tools down here, and that really became a sort of the struggle part of putting this deck together. 1 Air Balloon in here. I prefer for that to be on an Amistar. You can put it on Zarude if you want to. Either way, I think it's beneficial on either one. Big Charm and Big Parasol, 1 each of those. 1 Giant Bomb. Giant Bombs just to increase that damage. I was really flipping back and forth between Big Charm and Big Parasol, and just because this is a greens deck, I just went the easy route and chose 1 of each instead of one over the other. We'll get into Big Parasol in a minute. I think if you don't understand how good that card is, I will explain why I think it is here in just a minute. And Togekiss has colorless energy requirements, opens up the possibility of you doing anything. Of course, first up is the powerful energy. This is how you can boost that 120 damage up further. You get 2 of these guys on there, start hitting for 160. It becomes much more possible to 2-shot some of the VMAXs out there. So we have that. I have 1 weakness guard, and this is what I was talking about with Pikachu Zekrom. Anything else lightning that pops up here in the future, just to remove his weakness is pretty good. The really all the means of knocking any of these special energies off is going to be stopped by item lock. So I think you're pretty good there, and pretty much the same thing on these tools, which we'll get back into. And I also played a capture energy. Not very often, you really want extra bench guys there, but I figured what the heck, 1 in there doesn't hurt. It's a colorless energy, so it can work there. And I have 6 grass energies. Back up here to the tools. I want to look at Big Parasol with you for a second. As long as this the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, prevent all effects of attacks of your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon. And this, we had to actually do a little bit of research on the rulings on this. The main one I kind of wanted to point out was looking at either Pikarom or Dragapult VMAX. Pikarom with Tag Bolt GX, where it does the extra 170 damage to 1 of your bench Pokemon as part of that GX move if you have the extra energies. That is not an effect that it stops, because this says damage is not effect, and that is actually damage. But along those same lines, you have Max Phantom from Dragapult VMAX, where it does 130 damage, and then it allows you to place 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way that you like to. It does stop that because it's the placing of damage counters, and that is an effect. And then the other obvious effects that this stopped is, anything that burns you or poisons you, anything that would either force you to switch or maybe even knock off a special energy or discard an energy, all those things it prevents. And really surprised how many more of those things are in the format. I guess I haven't been playing as much as I have at one point. So Big Parasol actually proves to be really strong in this. But I didn't want to remove the option of having a Big Charm to boost your HP up to 340, because there are things out there that can hit that. I guess that's mostly Cinescorch. So a little bit extra HP there is helpful as well. It actually this also gets you out of reach of Charizard with Leon, which is good. And the nice thing about all of these tools in the deck is that under item lock, Tool Scrapper cannot knock any of them off. So I think you're pretty safe with the one-ofs and all of those instances. And as far as matchups go with this thing, it's pretty much kind of, I don't know if you'd say 50-50 across the board. I would say that I think you can beat anything with this. I also think you can lose anything with this just by making a misplay on your own side, or making just a major strategical error and maybe not identifying what you're playing against. In general, though, I would say the item-heavy decks like Mad Party and Whimsicott, things like that, this kind of just destroys once you know how to play it. If you play it well, As far as how it performs against some of the other big VMAXs, where your damage total basically is making you try to 3-hit them, it becomes a challenge, but what you're trying to achieve by using Zarude V is trying to make them at least 3-hit, and maybe in some cases have to 4-hit you as well, in combination with Mallow and Lana, or using Zarude more than once, if that's possible. So I don't count this out against really anything. Again, I think in the Lightning matchup, it's probably its toughest one. You do have to dig out that one weakness guard energy that you have, and that's probably not enough to skirt you all the way through the game. But again, we can theorize about this until the cows come home. We'll play some games with it and see if we can get you a look at how we play it and how it matches up against stuff. I won the coin toss, and I'm choosing to go second, which I think is the right choice on this one. You really do want to get that first turn greens or first turn supporter. Playing against Whimsicott, which probably is about as good a matchup as I'll get with this deck. And it's good just because on top of the item lock, I think really hurts Whimsicott. My Togekiss VMAX swings for 120. It's going to knock, I think there's everything in this deck it'll knock out. That's interesting. There's a Aldino. A lot of people have gone to that amazing rare Jirachi to replace the old team-up Jirachi for your opening Pokemon. That Aldino basically does the same thing, and it's much cheaper than Jirachi. I don't think that new Jirachi is really that good. People are just playing it for a lack of anything else. But see, I got my first turn greens. I've already got the pieces in my hand, so as long as I don't get stamped, this is setting up to be a very good opening turn. I'll get my fossil out, and I think I'll be able to play pretty much everything else in my hand down. So I think I just want to take Professor's Research and go ahead and the other option would be to take greens and go ahead and play greens before I get an ability in play one more time. But I'll be able to pull the greens out with Togekiss VMAX's attack, where you can pick the cards and just get those in hand and throw those away with other cards. We'll get the Charm on up, push him up to 230, and attach the energy to give me a 20 damage boost. So a whopping 40. Too bad he wasn't an evolution. That would have been really good. So you got 3 on the bench there. Would love to see that bench fill up, because then I would pretty much be assured of item lock for the whole game. There is a horror energy, so I guess I will get some damage coming my way when I knock this thing out. He did a attack to sort of draw some more cards for himself. Go and get my item lock there. We'll evolve. We'll attach this weakness guard energy, which is not a factor in this one, unless there's some kind of surprise I don't know of. Not toss anything there really, but the VMAX. I guess this is kind of where I love having the 3 stamps in this one. Go ahead and play Stamp and try to keep their hand big and hopefully full of items that they can't play. So kind of clog their hand up, and a quick ball to, I guess, go ahead and get out Zarude V. And bench him down. That might not have been a great idea. He's only got 3 on his bench. I'm going to take a knockout here. I've just negated my own item lock. That was a mistake. But just mentioned that before in the just talking about the deck, that this is a mistake-prone deck, and you have to pay attention to a lot of things. I have not played so many games with this because they're generally long games. A lot of people rage quit against this thing, which is not very fun to watch. But since I made that mistake, I'll go ahead and get a Grass Energy and get it on Zarude. And I think I want to take Mallow and Lana. I'll take the greens. I've got a Cynthia Caitlin. I can use that to toss greens away. We definitely don't want to get to a point where we're drawing greens, so we'll try to get rid of those as we go. So we got 2, again, that's, well, never mind. He laid down a Pokemon. I guess a mistake countered by a mistake. But that's the trick to Amistar, is you have to have fewer on your bench than they do for his lock to remain. Just kind of got bailed out there by opponent benching another. And there goes another, so that gets us in a little bit better shape. I don't think this is the kind of matchup you can keep that lock going, but for so long. Just because you're going to take knockouts in a single prize thing, and they're eventually going to get down to where they have the same number bench, or maybe even less than you do. And we'll attach that grass. Need the switch of Air Balloon would be the ideal card to get onto that Amistar, but Pokegear came in handy there. We'll get Mallow and Lana instead. Don't mind burning that just to switch right now, because I've got Cynthia Caitlyn in my hand. I can just get it back when needed. So we'll max glide and kill this Audino to at 140 right now, which is okay. Again, that would be great. 2 energies for 140 back in the day would be amazing, but it's a little bit underpowered at the moment. Go and get that second grass for Zarude, so he'll be ready to do his thing. And we'll get another greens out of here. See if we can just start tossing some of those. Really, maybe the way to play this, and again, I have not experimented enough to have all those plays in my head, and maybe just to attach that grass to Amistar, and then hold that Zarude in your hand until you're ready. Keep a grass, then you can just energy switch the energy over to him and set him up in one turn instead of him being down there being a target for one and taking up a bench spot, which obviously in this matchup is going to be kind of vital, because I think my opponent's definitely figured out the item lock and is trying to looks like he's definitely trying to not bench anything that he doesn't need to. I would say this would be having green in there to let you get the tools back. Lots of support cards in Whimsicott. Probably trying to hold those in his hands. Don't think Lieutenant Surge. I kind of would like to toss the green, but I don't think Lieutenant Surge's is ever going to come into play in this one, at least the way this is going. So we'll do that. Get Mel and Lana back. That's the other maybe disadvantage to this deck, I don't know, is that you're going to get these massive hands that become kind of sensory overload. You just have so many things in your hand. You kind of need to just know what you're looking for, because every time here I attack, I get 2 more cards. You kind of get to the point here too, I don't know what to take. We'll maybe start going for the energy denial. Yellhorn is awesome because you can confuse, but I kind of save that for a turn I know I'm going to switch Togekiss and maybe heal. So we're just going to go pure energy denial this turn. Again, Whimsicott I think attacks for 1, so that's not going to be but so good against Whimsicott, but getting rid of maybe some of these horror energies will definitely benefit us a little bit. We're back to the 2 and 2 on the bench, so item lock is no longer in play. I think on this game a little arrow pops up under your opponent's side to show when he can't play items. There is Audino again. The ability looks like it's called Hustling, I forget. There, and obviously there's going to be a multitude of tools in here, some of which are actually benefit you, some I think are just to have tools down to throw away with Whimsicott, but don't know if Evolution Incense is the way to get to Whimsicott. Definitely seems to be having trouble getting there. It's going to attach to Audino and hit me for a whopping 30, so. But yeah, let's see if we can get. We'll definitely knock this Audino out this turn, so there's a heads on the hammer, so let's get rid of one of those. Then I think we'll go ahead and let's play the Team Yell Grunt, get rid of the other one on the bench, and then I've got Stamp in my hand. You can stamp away the energy in his hand and hopefully just fill it back up with items. Got 30, a little bit more than 30 cards left, so pretty good chance he'll get the energy back. As you can see, I have energy and really nowhere to attach it. Maybe the thing to do would be just to attach one to start attaching the Amistar just so you could pay a retreat cost maybe. But just going to hold right now because I think that we're in cruise control at this point. I love the stamps. Keep on getting stamped and just try to keep that hand big and full of items. And maybe Yell Horn. Yell Horn doesn't work quite as good in this one because I'm not ever damaging anything that I'm not knocking out. So we get bosses just in case we need to grab something up and knock it out next. We got a Yell Horn anyway off the prizes, so again, the Yell Horn, where it comes in is get confusion, then swap back and heal. And that confusion can protect your Zarude V if they can't swap out. So there's a Bird Keeper for... It's becoming a pretty massive hand, and like I said, hopefully just jam-packed full of items, even though it's not a factor at the moment. We have equal benches again, so my lock is gone. I don't know if there's anything else other than, was it Maywile that lets you force something onto the bench might be good in here. But again, I don't know that accomplishes anything because you have to play Maywile GX onto your bench to do it, so you're not going to gain any ground, I guess, if you have to play a Pokemon down to make them play a Pokemon. But wish there was another way to do that. Maybe a Captivating Pokepuff back in the day lets you do that. So there goes a Trubbish, looks like, yeah, a Trubbish to put my lock back into place. And this may be the first attack from Whimsicott. So get 3 tools in play. I'm going to toss them all for a grand total of 130. So we're getting up in range. I've got my tool on, so I do kind of need to look at healing this turn just to preserve this lone Togekiss. So again, this is where you would Yell Horn. I'm going to go ahead and play it just to get it out of my hand at this point, just to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about. Togekiss has free retreat, so we'll back into Zarude V. We got the Grass Energy in hand, which is a factor of that. Get the knockout there, which generally 100 damage is not knocking anything out, but right now it is. And I will attach and heal. And that gets us down to 1 prize. I think at this point this is a done deal. There's that air balloon that I kind of wish I had earlier. I played the Parasol down there. That's another mistake just in watching this game. Should have held out for the air balloon, just because that gives you... Anybody tries to catch and stall you there, just because they can't play items, can slowly sort of attach energies and maybe knock out the Amistar and just free themselves from the lock. But really nothing else to do here. We'll just end this one. All sorts of things we could do, but don't need to at this point. So you can see it's a pretty nasty lock against an item-heavy deck like Whimsicott. I'm just going to play one game here. These games turn into pretty long games, especially against a 6-prizer like Whimsicott. It's hard to record a full one because of all those who get online to scoop. I'm not really sure why they play, but anyway. I think this is a fun deck. Like I said earlier, it is easily customizable in terms of the items, supporters, the stadiums, and what have you. I think you can change this thing around any way that you really choose to do it, with or without Zarude, whatever you can come up with. Try it out. Let me know what you think in the comments if you want to. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask there. Help us out and subscribe and share our videos. See if you can help us grow a little bit so we can make more of these types of videos. And this has been Hee-Haw with Dark Moon Cards and Games. Be not afraid. Later.